Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to the Todd Allbaugh Show. Todd just got back from the dentist appointment. We pre-recorded part. Exactly. So we pre-recorded part of the show to make sure that he's not too drugged up to speak for the beginning. His mouth's still a little numb, so we'll get back to him after we play that beginning of the show.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zomerans, our producer and engineer. It is Monday, June 24th, a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Now, 6 minutes past the hour of 12 noon. Welcome in back to the work week, and glad to have you along for another week here on the Civic Media Radio Network, high atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square. And welcome back to after the weekend. I know Kenny Chesney was down in Milwaukee this weekend, and we're going to talk about the historical mark in his career the previous week in Chicago, and it should be a good time had by all. And then we're also going to talk a little bit, Mr. Zommers, about this. We briefly touched on this last week, but I thought it deserved some more attention. The Civic Media Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. In fact, there are winners.
There are, and we get to give you their names today.
Yes, absolutely. So we had several people, and we kind of listed these throughout the contest and a little bit last week, of the people who won things such as the Wisconsin Dells Summer Prize Pack, which included, now we can tell you that the contest is over, it included things like water park tickets and amusement park tickets, all kinds of tickets for you to enjoy these attractions, which otherwise, if you have a large family, it kind of adds up, but it was a chance for you to take you and someone that you care about and have a great day in the Dells on us. And we gave away those prize packs once per hour, and then once per day, we gave away, of course, a pair of Milwaukee Brewer Club level seats, and we told you some of the names that folks won on those. Always those great seats given away by our very own Luke Mathers from his beautiful leather-bound satchel, which he hand oils with apparently synthetic mink oil.
Because it's not really a sustainable way to get real mink oil.
To get real mink oil, we learned, of course, that you have to kill a mink. Which I don't know why I find that funny, but I just like the phrase killing a mink. And anyway, it sounds like it's a euphemism for something. I don't know why. That's just the way my mind works, unfortunately. But the big news is that the grand prize winners get to be announced. We touched on it a little bit last week. But again, I think it's important for people to know that people actually win these things. So congratulations to Tori in Kewanee and Tammy in Baraboo, where, of course, there you go. Of course, where we were last Wednesday with our friend and colleague Earl Ingram Jr. of the Earl Ingram Show, which can be heard every morning from 8 until 10 right here on Civic Media. Earl and I went up there for the inaugural Juneteenth celebration in Baraboo. It was fantastic. The music was fantastic, by the way, last week. And so we have a winner from Baraboo, Tammy. So I love the alliteration, by the way, Tori and Tammy. Tori in Kewanee, Tammy in Baraboo. So just as a reminder, Tori and Tammy are going to get a choice of one of the following unique summer staycations. They get to choose from a trip to Fort Atkinson, a cottage on the lake. And this is the big one because it includes the pontoon boat, and we know that our friend and colleague Pat Kreitlow of Up North News Radio every morning from 6 until 10, which, by the way, I got to guest host this morning. I've been up early, and which is fine. It was fantastic. And so Pat Kreitlow has said that he will be willing to pilot the pontoon boat if Tori and Tammy choose that, because, of course, he has his own pontoon up on beautiful Lake Wissota. He is a seasoned pontoon boat captain. So that's fantastic. And then you have the Lake Geneva stay at the Harbor Shores, the beautiful Harbor Shores. I mean, Lake Geneva, I mean, it's just, you've never been there. Fantastic place, as is Door County. And I've been saying throughout the contest, the east of the east, because if you've ever spent any time on the East Coast, particularly New England, Door County has a similar feel with kind of the rocky shorelines and the breeze blowing off Lake Michigan. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the state of Wisconsin, Door County. And the Ridges Inn and Suites is the beautiful resort you can stay at, the Ridges Inn and Suites in Door County. So Tori and Tammy, Tori from Kewanee, Tammy from Baraboo, congratulations. They will choose from one of those prize packages.
You know, I do have a question about that. I wonder if they are allowed to choose the same one or if they have to duke it out.
No, I think they can choose whatever they want.
I'm pretty sure as well, but
Yes.
it's just an interesting image to think. Like, no, I want Pat.
We don't want any fights. We don't want to be responsible for violence. You understand? But they'll also get a gas card, $100 a piece, to get them there and back, assuming they're not driving. I don't know, an RV or something. Is 10
Well,
miles.
if so, then they're going to have to chip in under their own.
Yeah. But they get $100 for gas doing that. So again, congratulations to Tori and Kewanee, Tammy and Baraboo, and a big thanks to Aaron Carreno, our operations director here at Civic Media, for putting this entire contest together. It was fantastic. So congratulations to them. They are the big winners of the Civic Media Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. And I'm being told now by higher-ups on the upper floors here at Civic Media, there will be another one of these text-to-win contests coming down the line soon. So stay tuned. More prizes, more fun. It'll be fantastic. More of these things are coming up along the way. And, of course, if you had not heard, Jane Matnair, our colleague on the air with Matnair on air every morning from 10 until noon, she threw down the gauntlet. She got spicy, and she challenged me and said, well, which one of us is going to get the most texters? And it was a fantastic, friendly competition. And at the end of the day, I came from behind on the final day of the contest from Amory, the place that Jane is in love with and has dedicated her broadcasting career to. I'm not sure if that's true, but we'll just say it is. It was Amory who did her in, because Amory helped me come from behind and beat her by 31 votes is all. By 30. And if you add in the bonus texts where you register to vote, Jane actually beat me by 3 votes. So it was close, but Jane was a person of her word, and she bought me a steak dinner, and it was fantastic up there at Balsam Lake Lodge. So a good time was had by all, and most especially you, the listening audience. Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to talk about Kenny Chesney in a minute, but just so you were being completely transparent here, because, of course, we say pursuing the truth wherever it may lead. We want to be truthful with you. We're recording what you're listening to right now. We've recorded this opening half hour of the show a couple of days ago, because what happened was I said yes to guest hosting Up North News Radio with Pat Kreitlow this morning from 6 until 8, and I'm sure it was fantastic. And then I had to run immediately to the west side of Madison and get a crown on my tooth. And I didn't really realize what I scheduled. Well, what happened was I scheduled it a different day. And then Dr. Bradley, who, if you're in Madison and you need dental work done, Dr. Bradley at First Choice Dental, a nicer, more competent, talented dentist you will not find. In fact, he was voted best cosmetic dentist in Madison several times over by the Best of Madison.
Good to know.
Good to know. So Dr. Bradley at First Choice Dental there on Junction Road, and he does a great job. You go in there, he gives you everything. He gives you the gas, he gives you the gel on your gums. And what's nice about it is they put you in a robe and slippers, and they kind of rub the gel in your gums. There's spa music, and well, maybe not quite that much, but they help you relax. And then by the time they put the little needle in your gum, you can barely feel it. It's not like the old days where they stick this big thing in and you go, ah, no, nothing like that at all. And so he Novocained me up because I like it all. I love I love going to the dentist because you take a trip without ever leaving the chair. And so I got the temporary crown put on, and I had this all scheduled. Well, then Bradley had to go play golf, and he and he wanted to, no, he did. They asked me if I would accommodate. They had a patient that was more urgent, I don't know, needed than me. I said, sure, that's fine. I'm happy to do it. And so I rescheduled for today, forgetting I had said yes to Pat, and we also had our own show. So the purpose in pre-recording the first half hour is to give Todd a little bit of time for the Novocaine to wear off. Now, we thought about doing the show the first half hour live, which would have been, it would have been like the old Bill Cosby bit, going to the dentist with the water drooling out my mouth. And it would have been high comedy, but I'm not sure it would have been sustainable for the entire show.
Right, exactly. We wanted to give you a chance to, you might still be a little loopy, but
by the time we come back after the 12:30 break, which I'll be live, and you'll get to hear exactly how this is going, I may be unintelligible anyway. It should be a lot of fun. So, but anyway, that's the purpose of pre-recording today's show. So if there was big news this morning and you're asking, well, why did Todd not lead with that? That's the reason, because we pre-recorded the first half hour. We'll come back and tell you at the bottom of the hour how the old trip to the dentist went this morning, and bring you up to speed with today's headlines as well. That's what's going on. Do you enjoy your trips to the dentist, Mr. Zommers, or are you one of these people? I mean, there are people that have a legit phobia and fear of the dentist.
No, I don't. I still haven't been in a while though. I need to schedule a checkup, a cleaning. It's been a minute.
Don't put it off. Don't put
You're
it
right.
off.
Especially because my family has a history of dental issues. Just like issues with everything else.
All right. Well, I'm not laughing at that. It's just
my family has bad luck on
you
genes.
have bad luck. I'm not sure bad genes, but it seems like a little bit of bad luck.
So far, though, I haven't gotten any cavities. My dental health has been perfectly fine.
You're 25 and you've never had a cavity?
Correct.
Wow. That speaks, I think, to put the old fluoride in the water, and maybe you have good dental, because obviously, as we like to say, a lot older than Aaron at 54, but we didn't have fluoride in the water and all that when I was growing up. And I brushed my teeth, my parents had me brush my teeth every day and everything. I had, a handful of cavities when I was a kid.
Yeah, I imagine that it did make a big difference, as well as, brushing my teeth at least twice a day and everything. And right. I actually, the dentist has yelled at me before for brushing too hard, because my gums would be slightly deteriorated. And they're like, all right, Aaron, calm down, dude.
You using a toilet brush, or what are you using in there?
A toothbrush. Just a normal toothbrush.
Well, it sounds like you don't need my advice, or you're taking, if you haven't had any cavities yet. But I think it's a good reminder for all of us to not put off, because don't put off taking care of your mouth and your teeth. This is completely serious. Your dental health directly affects the rest of your body.
Legitimately, it does.
It does. And so a lot of people that develop heart problems or other problems, it's because of not taking care of their teeth. That is a fact, a hitherto unknown fact, as Ken Lewis would like to say. Come back, talk a little Kenny Chesney, and find out whether the Novocaine is worn off, as the Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Small town, big town, all got a hometown. 2 lane, 6 lane, all got a memory lane. New friends, old friends, couple or a bunch of them. Beer can, Jack man, love getting drunk with them. Got some angels, got her demons, got some don't, got her reasons. We all wanna know what we're made for. Is this the right road? Is that the right road? Who we're meant to be or meant to be more? Are we the sun or are we the storm? For every unknown, one thing's for sure, we've all been living since the day we were born.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Of course, that is one of our favorites, Kenny Chesney, who was in Milwaukee over the weekend on Saturday at AmFam Field. A great concert. Find out in 10 minutes whether I went or not. As we record this, and we're recording it because I had to go to the dentist this morning. I'm back live here after the bottom of the hour break. I will tell you whether or not I actually went to the Kenny Chesney concert this weekend in Milwaukee.
I hope you did.
I hope I did too. But here's some really cool news about Kenny Chesney. He has a lot to look forward to as he continues touring this summer, as he did in Milwaukee over the weekend. But it'll be tough to top his recent performance a week ago in Chicago. A note from the You and Tequila Singers team revealed that so far he has smashed his previous sales and attendance records at almost every stadium this summer. However, last weekend's show at Soldier Field broke his highest attendance record with nearly 2,000 more people filling the stands and making it his most attended concert to date.
Wow. Congratulations, Kenny Chesney.
How about that? I mean, still getting it done. I mean, not that he's ancient or anything, roughly my age, but he's been touring for probably 20 years on started out and from Tennessee, just to kind of bars and playing covers and whatnot. And of course, he's gone on to have a magnificent career. And then this surprised me a little bit because he ends every tour for the last, 10 years at least, out in New England, home of the New England Patriots. And that's kind of become his tradition to end. And usually he does at least 2, if not 3 shows there to end because so many people want to go. And I would have thought that would have been his most attended concert, but no, it was a couple weeks ago in Chicago at Soldier Field. So while reflecting all the wins in a statement, Kenny Chesney said that it was the most amazing summer so far, unquote. He says, "No Shoes Nation," which, by the way, that's what those of us who are Kenny Chesney fans, we call ourselves No Shoes Nation because of his big hit, No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem. And he has a station on Sirius XM, which when I'm not listening to Civic Media, I'm listening to No Shoes Nation most of the time. And it's a great channel on Sirius XM because it's not just all Kenny Chesney. It's the music that he listens to while he tours. He is famous for spending a lot of time in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and the Caribbean. And it's just some of it's rock, some of it's country, some of it's pop. It's just music that he likes. And I happen to like the music that he likes, I guess. But yeah, so he said, Kenny Chesney, he said, quote, "No Shoes Nation has always been this passionate, insane country without borders where people who come together, raise our pirate flag, and enjoy the life in the ways that inspire me." He added, "I did not know that you could have some of the responses we've had on this tour, and just when you think it can't get any louder or more heartfelt, Chicago happens." The 56-year-old country crooner also gushed about the history-making moments online, sharing in a few photos from the June 15th concert alongside of a special message of gratitude. Chesney said, quote, "Chicago, last night you gave us everything we could have asked for and more. Being on stage and feeling your wave of love in this moment was so magical. Thank you for that, and know we love you. Last night was special for a lot of reasons, but Poncho made his stage debut last night." Poncho is his dog.
I assumed, yeah.
So that was fantastic. So Kenny Chesney setting some records. I want to play one song that we play a lot of. Get along, because I think it reflects what we want to do, and it's similar to what No Shoes Nation does, which is bring people together, right? And there's a song that a great writer and singer in his own right, Mac McAnally, which those of you who know music will recognize the name. But Mac McAnally has teamed up with Kenny Chesney in helping write a number of his big hits. And one of the songs from a recent album is called Guys Named Captain. And Mac McAnally's dad was a boat captain. And so he started to write this song about guys that he knew, guys that Kenny Chesney knew, that were captains and lived this awesome life of being on the water, being on the sea. And it's really, really well written. And it's just a beautiful song. We're going to play a little clip of this. This is Kenny Chesney, a song by Mac McAnally, Guys Named Captain.
Guys named Captain are always characters living by the water somewhere in the Americas, South or Central or some virgin island, barefoot and sun-kissed, always smiling. Guys named Captain aren't haters, they're lovers, living life large or largely undercover. Dive bars and cocktails, waitresses and tall tales, chasing the sun, run aground to full sail like Captain Outrageous and Captain Tony, a painter and a sailor, old Key West cronies floating on the breeze, the salt of the sea, ornery, tattooed and laughing, guys named Captain.
Song from Kenny Chesney off of his Here and Now album, the album that we came in with the song, I forgot to talk about that, Born, as his latest album that he has out, Kenny Chesney, called Born, and we played the cut coming into the title track called Born. That was Guys Named Captain off of the album before the current album called Here and Now. And I just think musically it's fantastic. It's so well written, and it's based on real people in both Mac McAnally's life and Kenny Chesney's life.
Yeah, and songs that tell a story like that are something special that doesn't always happen. A lot of people just write more abstract songs.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with just a fun
Oh,
abstract
absolutely.
song, but I just really appreciate the fact that so much of Kenny Chesney's songs, so many of them tell a great story. So congratulations to Kenny Chesney on a great show in Milwaukee over the weekend at the AmFam Field, and also congratulations on the week before when he set this new tour mark, the most attended Kenny Chesney show ever in Chicago, part of the Sun Goes Down tour, touring around the United States. If you have not seen Kenny Chesney, do yourself a favor. I've seen him a couple of times, and a better live performance you will not see. It is just it's a party. We're gonna leave you as come back after the bottom of the hour. We'll be here live. Find out whether my Novocaine is worn off. Gonna leave you with a little bit more Kenny Chesney. Love this song. Hear it, or it's called Get Along. There, thank you, Kenny. See, the Novocaine is still on with me. Come on back. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
We try, get along, while we can't always give love the upper hand. Paint a wall, learn to dance, call your mom, buy a boat, drink a beer, sing a song, make a friend. Can't we all get along?
and Anago is more than just a summer job. It's a mission to equip participants with the knowledge they need to stay safe in the fields and on the road. As he puts it, accidents can happen anytime, making it essential for everyone to learn these critical skills and take precautions.
Well, certainly some of the more common causes of tractor accidents are, when they're on a roadway at least, are usually inattentive driving or unaware drivers, differences in speed on when they're on roadways and things like that. So on roadways, it's one set of circumstances. On the farm, tractor accidents, the majority of tractor accidents are usually actually rollovers or as far as where there could potentially be injuries involved.
As he puts it, accidents can happen anytime, making it essential for everyone to learn these critical skills and precautions. I'll have a look at your midday commodity markets right after this.
Introducing Certain Herbicide, the latest corn innovation from BASF. It brings powerful PPO residual chemistry into a pre-through early post application thanks to novel solid encapsulation technology. Apply from pre-plant to V3 and get up to 8 weeks of residual control or suppression of 79 broadleaf and grass weed species. Don't chase weeds all through the season. Attack them before they emerge with Certain Herbicide from BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
Water hemp, Palmer amaranth, and giant ragweed. Left undisturbed, they will become the most dangerous foes to corn plants. But in the early season, these weeds are at their weakest. Now is the time. A predator lurks. Certain Herbicide attacks, unleashing full residual power before weeds have a chance to emerge. Pre or early post application, they are hopeless against such effective chemistry. Certain Herbicide from BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
Andrew in Maine says, now we just hope that Todd made it through his appointment on time, so Mr. Zommers doesn't have to do the show by himself. Not that he couldn't, but probably doesn't want to, or have to call in Luke. Well, Todd is here. We got about 2 minutes. Yeah, maybe I should give you some trombone lip warm-up exercises.
An embouchure warm-up. All right, let's see here what we got.
So it's just those 3 cuts you sent?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
We'll just kind of see how things go and how much time we need here.
We got 2 minutes, a little under.
Thank you. I can't do that.
Todd's teeth are so bright, I had to wear shades. Sure, we'll go with that. Oh, definitely not my other glasses breaking again. Don't you worry. It absolutely is. Oh no, I'm just too hungover today, I guess.
Now, Mom's listening. No, she's not listening right now. I was just saying, Mom's listening. She's like, now, Aaron shouldn't be on the air if he's hungover. He's joking, Mom. But Mom's on her way to the dentist right now herself, to the same dentist.
For the same thing?
Yes, but she's getting her permanent crown put on today.
Gotcha.
Mine is just got the temporary after all the inside work. More information you wanted to know about Todd's teeth.
You ever had to get a root canal?
Thank God, no. Have you? Well, not you would.
No,
know.
my mom has though.
Yeah.
My mom's gotten a couple, and they do not sound fun. I just had my wisdom teeth pulled. I think that was it.
Wow.
Well, and braces, but that's not a
Right.
surgery. All right, got about 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Drain the pressure from the swelling. The sensation's overwhelming. Give me a orchestra night. Everything'll be alright. Tell me that I won't feel a thing. So give me Novocaine.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, 34 minutes past 12 noon on this Monday, June 24th. We are live. This is not the pre-recorded bit that you just heard. Very relevant, but we pre-recorded that, Friday or so? I'm having to speak very slowly because although Dr. Bradley at First Choice Dental did a fantastic work, I felt no pain, none at all. The Novocaine, actually, they told me it's not Novocaine now. They use a mixture of lidocaine and some other cane, maybe sugar cane.
Maybe.
But it is not worn off yet, so I have to talk a little slower than normal so I don't bite the heck out of my teeth or my gums and tongue. Do I sound different?
Just a little slow, but
well, regular listeners of the show know that I've been a little slow for quite some time. It is great to be with you live on this Monday the 24th. And yes, Kenny Chesney was in Milwaukee. That concert got to go on because it was in AmFam Field and they had the dome closed. Keith Urban was supposed to play at Summerfest. That did not happen.
Oh, it got rained out.
Also, Dave Matthews was doing Alpine Valley, also rained out. So I will tell you right now, I unfortunately did not make my way to Milwaukee for a number of reasons, not the least of which was the weather. And I was getting ready to guest host Kreitlow's show this morning, which we had a lot of fun with Greg Bach. And speaking of, and by the way, at the top of the hour, just after, we're going to have Chief Civic meteorologist Corey Hartman in with us. He is going to update us on a very important weather announcement, as Wisconsin now has been given some watches, as I understand it, for some severe weather tonight, which could, keyword could, include derechos. And if you're not familiar, Corey's going to lay this out. They're very serious, very high straight line winds, not tornadoes, but can do as equal, if not in some cases, even worse damage. So Corey Hartman will be in just after the 1 o'clock hour to tell us what, when, where, and why. So be listening for that. Joining us earlier this morning on Up North News Radio as I guest hosted was Dr. Kristen Lyerly for her usual segment. She also happens to be a congressional candidate in the 8th Congressional District up in Northeast Wisconsin, in particular the Green Bay area, Kaukauna, Fox Valley area. And we spent a little time this morning talking about the second anniversary of the Dobbs decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, which overturned Roe v. Wade. So I get the Novocaine out of my system a little more. I'm going to bring you this very important discussion that Dr. Lyerly and I had, along with Greg Bach, the producer of Up North News Radio. So sit back and enjoy, about 10 minutes long. Dr. Lyerly this morning with us on Up North News Radio. How are things going on the campaign trail these days?
Todd, it is so much fun. I had no idea. I mean, I'm a doctor and I love taking care of patients and I love hearing their stories and helping them solve problems. That really fills my bucket. This takes it to a whole different level. It's not just about abortion, certainly. It's not just about reproductive rights, but it's about all the other stuff that people are struggling with, like being able to put gas in their car and food on their table and the things they worry about. I hear a lot of people talking about the border. And once we start talking about, what does that really mean and how does that affect your life? These are conversations that people are desperate to have, and they don't have a safe place. They get their information from social media and it just gets repeated in those echo chambers and they're not getting answers. They're just getting messaged at. So I love being able to have these conversations and helping people recognize that there is hope. There is hope, people.
Right. I love your energy, and I love the fact that you say that, because I think that people, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle they're on, they want to vote for hope. You know, if the message is always doom and gloom and the world's coming to an end, that's not too inspiring to get to the polls.
I just feel so grateful when people tell me, because I think that we're so polarized right now as a society. It takes a little while for people to be willing to actually share their feelings. But that's one of the things that, as Todd and I were talking off the air, it's not unusual, because I'm an OBGYN doctor who talks about abortion a lot, for total strangers to just walk up to me and tell me these very deeply personal stories. But my question for Todd was, tell me about the Dobbs anniversary from your perspective.
Well, and I said I have a penis, so it's a little different for me and not a uterus. So, I think I'm always very mindful of that as a dude.
Mhm.
You know, it's an issue. It's one of the few things when I look at myself politically that I've matured on or changed my position on over the years. When I was a young Republican, I was pro-life, and because my faith is important, and I said, I just don't think it's right. But I always was one of those people that said or believed that you should have exceptions for life, incest, and endangerment of the mother's life. And I think I know over the years, as I listened to more of my female friends, as I kind of watched what was going on, I think at 38, I finally came out and I was like, well, I don't want the government telling me, whose bedroom I can be in or coming into my bedroom. And just the same way as I didn't want government telling me who I should be able to love or marry. I think it's the same way for women, that I don't believe government should be telling them what to do with their bodies. And I think that as guys, we just can never fully, even if you're married to a woman or have a girlfriend or a daughter or whatever, unless your body goes through those things, that us as males will never be able to fully appreciate, from menstruation to later in life to menopause. We will never get it fully. And I think that you all as women deserve, like all of us, to have autonomy over your bodies and do what's right for you.
I really appreciate you sharing your perspective, because I feel like a lot of men want to have something to say and they feel muzzled, like they're not invited to the conversation. And what I've found is that there are a lot of people who have people that they care about in their lives who've been affected by this issue. I mean, I talked with some fellows at a breakfast on the farm. These were young people, and somehow the conversation, it always ends up in politics and this. And somehow these young guys were telling me stories about how my job was dangerous. I mean, these are guys who work on the road crew, and they're telling me that my job is dangerous and hard. And one of the fellows said, I understand, because my wife and I are having some problems getting pregnant, and it's been really hard for us. And he was really grateful, but I don't think he felt like he was invited to share his opinion or to share his feelings. And, men experience it in a different way. It's not physical for them. It's not, like you said, it's not something that they're actually going through, but they're bystanders. Right. And that makes that's just a different degree of hard.
I also think that, and I've talked about this on Jane and Greg's show, on Matt and Aaron Air. I talked about it on, we had a call on my show. I don't know, Greg, can't remember, been a few months back, but we had a caller that said, overturning Roe v. Wade, it doesn't mean that, women are having to be forced to carry dead babies inside of them. And I said, no, actually, that's exactly what it means. And she said, well, that's ridiculous. I said, yes, I know. And so for those who might not have heard, explain that part of it and what it means to a woman, because I don't think that a lot of us, particularly males, fully appreciate. We're not talking about someone, a woman who gets pregnant and weeks or whatever down the road says, well, for whatever reason, I don't want to have or can't have this baby. We're talking about someone who may want a baby, and then what happens, Dr. Lyerly?
Well, yeah, first I'd like to just debunk the things that you hear on conservative talk radio, that people are using abortion for birth control. Abortion is a very expensive form of birth control if that's what you're doing, not just dollar-wise, but like physically, and it's very complicated to get. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who has said, I'm not going to pick up my pill pack today. I'm just going to take my chances. People just don't do that. That is only on conservative talk radio. And the other thing I hear people say is, Democrats want abortion all the way up until the time of birth and sometimes after. And actually, was it on MSNBC over the weekend where somebody was saying, abortions can occur up to 3 days after birth? And I thought, wow, this conversation has really, really gone astray here. That is absolutely not the truth. 100% not the truth. But what it does is it makes it very hard to talk about these topics, because there are lots of emotions. And these are topics, like you said, Todd, that need to be discussed. These are people who have often desired pregnancies, who want to have a family, but there's something flawed about the pregnancy. Pregnancy isn't always straightforward and it isn't always joyful for people. And that's why people have to have the ability to make their own decisions based on the situation that they are confronted with, all of the different alternatives, and decide what's the best for them. It doesn't just affect you right now. This is not like getting your oil changed. This is something that the decision you make now affects you for the rest of your future. And that's what I talk with my patients about. It's not just, what do you need in this moment, but how does this look for you in 10 years?
Yeah. I always mess up the term. Is it endoscopic? Is that the right term, pregnancy?
Oh, ectopic.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm no doctor. I'm barely a radio host. But talk about, because I think that's the example that so many people don't get. Please explain that.
Oh yeah, ectopic pregnancies mean pregnancies that implant somewhere other than where they can grow and actually develop into a fully formed baby. You can get ectopic pregnancies. Commonly, they're in the fallopian tube. For whatever reason, fertilization often occurs in the fallopian tube. For whatever reason, implantation occurs there. But it can implant on the ovary. When I was in training, we saw someone who had a pregnancy that implanted on some of the great vessels in her pelvis, and the placenta was growing into her blood vessels. She was in danger, yes, of bleeding to death like very quickly because the placental tissue is very invasive. It's almost like a cancer. So these ectopic pregnancies don't survive to become babies. And in fact, they're the number one reason why women die early in pregnancy. When they rupture, someone can bleed to death very quickly. But the problem is that they often have that cardiac movement. Those little cardiac cells are often able to be picked up on ultrasound. So in states where we have these heartbeat bills, which are not actually heartbeats, it's just the beginning of the fetal cardiac activity, in those states, can they treat people with ectopic pregnancies? That's a huge problem. That's a huge question for people who are seeking care and for doctors who want to provide care. We're committed to saving people's lives. That's our job. But is it safe? Can we do that? Or what we've seen in Texas is doctors say, hop in your car, drive to New Mexico to get your ectopic taken care of. And here these patients know that they're in danger. They know that this is a life-threatening situation, and they know that they're going to be driving through rural West Texas where this ectopic could rupture at any time and they could just die in their car.
It's just, it's hideous. And again, if more male legislators would listen to what you said and have the unfortunate experience of knowing someone that went through this, I think their views would be a heck of a lot different. Talk to us. I mean, one of the most heart-wrenching things that I remember of 2 years ago was seeing particularly women in their 20s going to the state capitol and rallying and protesting, and with all seriousness, but with unfortunate naivete, looked at news cameras and said, they can't do that. They have to listen to us. We're the people. And I thought, boy, after going through Act 10 at the Capitol, the unfortunate truth is they don't. And unless people get out and vote, things like this will happen. And that's why it's so important to vote this November. I got 30 seconds left.
Yeah, this is, well, for a lot of people, this is the issue. There are a lot of one-issue voters, and this has been a very effective issue for Republicans for a long time. That's how we got Roe overturned. That's how Republicans, I wouldn't even say Republicans, mega extremists ended up in the situation that they're in. But, whatever it takes, you got to get out and vote because the future is at stake.
Indeed, and one of the great people you can vote for is Dr. Kristen Lyerly over the 8th Congressional District, Green Bay area, Colorado area. That was our interview this morning on Up North News Radio with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. Really appreciate her time this morning and laying this out there for all of us. She said it herself in an earlier interview that Trygve Olsen and I had with her. She said, as an OBGYN and a woman, I would like there to never be a reason to perform an abortion. That would be ideal. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. And as Trygve said, just like a lot of us don't want the government telling us how many shotguns we can own to go turkey hunting, we don't want government telling our daughters and our spouses what they can do with their bodies as well. Come on back to your phone calls as well as the Allbaugh Show for a Monday on Civic Media. may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on Monday, June 24th. Mr. Sommer on the board. Continuing our discussion here on the second anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And again, the voice sounds a little different. The pattern seems a little off. It's because I'm had a crown put on this morning. Great job by Dr. Bradley and the folks at First Choice Dental on Junction Road here in Madison. But yeah, when they put that Novocaine in the lower jaw, the right side of my face is still kind of numbed up. So,
Yeah, you got to make sure you don't bite off your tongue.
that's right. So apologize for that, but we continue on talking about this second anniversary. And again, appreciate Dr. Lyerly's comments. She was working in Minnesota. We talked to her this morning and was going to pull over as she headed back to Wisconsin, was going to pull over to a wayside and do a hit on MSNBC with Andrea Mitchell at like 11 o'clock this morning.
From Spooner
Or Chautauqua or somewhere there. So she, nobody works harder than Dr. Lyerly, and we appreciate her making time for us this morning. Let's go to the phone lines, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark from Prairie Sac calling in. Mark, thanks for listening. What say you?
Yeah, thanks. And I've been at that rest stop many times on my trips up, to the old stomping grounds up north. The one by Chautauqua there. That actually I reported a incident at one of those sand mining operations where they contaminated a creek. When I drove up, I saw it was contaminated. I had to call that into the DNR.
Oh, wow.
There's some kind of incident there. That it's interesting that I can remember back in the early 80s having to explain to a couple of men, they were older colleagues, what an ectopic pregnancy was and why that it was why that needed it to be an abortion. There needed to be a medical procedure. That just kind of shocked me because I can remember hearing about ectopic pregnancies back on some show on, I think it was like Room 222 or some medical program on back in the 70s, where a husband was all upset that his wife was going to have an abortion because it was an ectopic pregnancy, and what that happened there. I mean, back in the it would have been late 70s when I was in college. I actually took a course in human sexuality, explaining that the functions of the females, and that it's a valuable information as somebody who's a fan and of women, and that the ignorance that's still out there, just in the exploitation of ignorance that. It seems that one party in particular seems to be exploiting at this day and age. I mean, here it's how many decades after Roe versus Wade,
50
decades
years.
after we've had legalized birth control, that you would have thought we would have left that kind of ignorance behind us, and apparently we have not. And I don't know if it's ignorance or just willful evil. It's actually kind of evil, I think.
Oh, it is,
some of the stuff that they're doing.
I really appreciate the call,
thanks,
Mark.
brother.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, Mark and Prairie Sac. If you want to join us, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. You can download it for free on your favorite Apple or Android device at your app store, the Civic Media app. Do it today, not the least of which reason is to text and weigh in on the show. I think Mark said it well. And again, we're guys here discussing this, so I think that needs to be just mentioned and confronted here, that men will never fully understand this. But again, Mark's call, who has been around a few more years than me, that this ignorance on the part particularly of us as men, but also of society, because when we hear abortion, the word abortion, for a lot of people, I think it conjures up, oh my gosh, this promiscuous woman just decided she didn't want to use birth control. Now she's pregnant and she doesn't want to have the kid, so she's going to go take care of it.
Which, as Dr. Lyerly said, doesn't happen. And she's practiced as an OBGYN in multiple states. So you'd think if it was a common thing, she would have seen it by now.
She certainly would have. And I think that these ectopic pregnancies in particular, it may be a couple trying to have a baby, and the fertility happens outside of the uterus, and it can be life-threatening for the mother. And now with a lot of these abortion bills or laws that are back in action now, And remember, we've gotten complacent in Wisconsin because the 5-3 liberal Supreme Court, 5-4, pardon me, liberal Supreme Court in Wisconsin has ruled for now that women's health care can continue. But that is no guarantee, particularly with another Supreme Court race coming up in the spring next year, which will again determine the makeup of the court. And if the conservative wins, all that will be thrown out. And once again, abortion will go back to the civil rights or Civil War law, era law, which would essentially ban abortion in Wisconsin. So this is why it's so important for folks to vote, amongst other reasons. But if you care about this issue, if you're a woman, as I said in the interview this morning, a lot of folks, both young and old, but in particular younger, who said they can't do this. They have to listen to us. We're the people. And the sad and unfortunate truth in America today is lawmakers don't always have to listen to us. And the best way to ensure that women have access to health care into perpetuity or forever, or at least for the foreseeable future, is to vote in someone like Joe Biden, to reelect him, and Democrats up and down the federal ballot to ensure that laws can be passed to do something called codifying women's rights and access to health care into law. It just means they pass a bill, the president would sign it, and then the Supreme Court can't overturn it. So, again, don't get complacent on this issue. For a lot of women, this is a difficult day. For a lot of people, it's a difficult day. Because whether you're Republican or Democratic, independent, there was a lot of folks who said, well, you know, Roe v. Wade is law, 50 years, can't do anything about it. Never thought that it would be overturned. And of course, with Trump Supreme Court appointments, 3 of them, it was. There's a debate coming up on Thursday. Civic Media is going to carry it. News director at Civic Media, Terry Bell, and myself will be anchoring our coverage. Going to get underway at 7:30 with the pregame, 8 o'clock with the debate. I encourage you to listen to it, to watch it, because there will be a stark contrast on Thursday between which candidate supports women and which one doesn't. Back with Hour 2, including Corey Hartman on a very special and serious weather update. You need to hear this. Stick around. It's the Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Home of the John and Gordy Show.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we'll recap the overnight storms. Hopefully everyone is okay. Then we're going to talk to Eitan Levine about his quest to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Join us.
Matnair on air, weekday mornings at 11.
Hi, I'm Emily from Weikert Realtors Lake Point in Madison. Home ownership is a big deal, and so is taking the leap into the buying or selling of any property. The Weikert team gets that, and our job is to help you navigate the sales process and provide smooth sailing. You have questions, we have answers. You have worries, we have solutions. Let us open the door to your future home. Weikert Realtors Lake Point, 608-721-8002, 2045 Atwood Avenue. Find more info at weikert-lakepoint.com.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. You're listening to Mad Radio, WMDX 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. The Supreme Court will hear the case of a Tennessee teenager who's challenging statewide bans on gender-affirming care. The justices will take it up in their next term, which begins this fall. 2 years ago today, the court struck down Roe v. Wade, but Vice President Harris says the justices did not act alone.
Thanks to these new technology standards, not only
Vice President Harris said that Donald Trump handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court because he intended for them to overturn Roe v. Wade. Evacuation orders have been lifted in Ruidoso, New Mexico, as the investigation into the cause of 2 deadly wildfires gets underway. They're still sweltering across parts of the Northeast and New England. Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. could set new record high temperatures. This is ABC News.
This news report is sponsored by Wisconsin Capital Management, LLC, serving their clients for 40 years. Visit wiscap.com.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Computer hackers may have leaked the personal information of about 20,000 people in Wisconsin on Medicaid. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services announced the breach Friday after suspicious activity was found on an email account for Disability Rights Wisconsin. Voters tell polls they're more concerned about crime in the economy than abortion, but Democratic Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski says voters still prefer candidates who protect reproductive rights.
And so while the first thing out of his mouth was about the economy, he was actually voting for his daughters. And I think that's, we're hearing more and more when you actually have these more detailed conversations.
Today is the second anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now, here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The Madison School Board will vote tonight on big tax referendums, the largest in district history. MMSD is facing a $39 million deficit starting next school year. That's because of 2 things. Federal pandemic money running out. The district used that money to pay 111 staff members last year. And referendum money from 2020 is expiring. Tonight, the school board will decide whether or not to put 2 referendum questions on the ballot in November, totaling more than $600 million. That money would last 4 years. Here's the thing. So many districts are in this position because the school funding formula hasn't been meaningfully updated in 30 years. Researchers at the Wisconsin Policy Forum say when districts find other sources of money, like increasing taxes, that ends up taking pressure off of lawmakers to increase school funding or update the formula. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
The Brewers' Myers with another victory. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers winning 6-2 in San Diego Sunday against the Padres, thanks to another strong showing from rookie pitcher Tobias Myers, center fielder Blake Perkins.
Yeah, Toby's been pitching really well. I think just attacking their lineup, attacking the hitters with his fastball and not being afraid to use his other pitches, the cutter, changeup. I'm happy for him, man. It's good to see. He provided us a really good start, with shutdown innings, especially after we came through and scored. Those are big.
Myers has now won 4 in a row. Pat Murphy.
Tobias is great. I mean, this kid continues to work in between starts. He continues to be serious about his unexpected arrival in the big leagues. Since he's been here, he's decided that I'm going to listen to these guys.
The Brewers host the Rangers tonight. College basketball, 6'2" guard Adian Knopp, who helped lead Sussex Hamilton High to the postseason, committed to the Wisconsin Badgers over the weekend. He'll report as a preferred walk-on. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Bright blue skies and highs in the mid-80s. Winds a touch breezy out of the south as a system strikes overnight, bringing chances for strong to severe thunderstorms that could have high, damaging winds and large hail. Stay weather savvy. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently 82 degrees.
Covering all the news that affects you with humor and a unique perspective. Matinaire on Air with Jane Matinaire. Weekdays 11 till noon on the talk you can't ignore. Mad Radio 92.7 WMDX and on the Civic Media app.
Hey Wisconsin, it's construction season and the Wisconsin DOT wants to help you safely navigate work zones. Check 511wi.gov or download the app for road work or closures on your route. Know before you go with 511 Wisconsin. Sponsored by the Wisconsin DOT.
Wisconsin Capital Management in Madison is a registered investment advisory firm and has been serving their clients for the past 40 years. The firm is focused on providing investment.
Seems like we're likely going to have him on the phone.
Does he have the number?
Yes.
All
All
right.
right, I'll double check and
All right, thanks.
send it again. All right, 30 seconds. Oh. Looks like Corey joined via
I
StreamYard.
think I'm good. Am I
Hey,
good, guys?
Okay.
there he is.
All
Yes, we
right.
can hear you.
Nicely
Beautiful.
All right. Just about to start.
All right, standing by.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is Monday, June 24th, 2024. A great day to be a Wisconsinite. 6 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big show, high atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square. It is a sunny day right now here in Madison, rather warm as well, a bit sticky, but those conditions could change rapidly as we go throughout the afternoon. Going to get back into politics and also a cool story. Well, I guess a bittersweet story. John Anderson, a great Wisconsinite, a great Wisconsin and particularly Milwaukee Brewer broadcaster who has also had a long career on ESPN, is going to hang up his Sports Center anchor shoes this Friday and is moving on to a new gig. We'll tell you about that a little bit later on in this hour. But right now I want to bring on Corey Hartman. He is the chief meteorologist and chief engineer here at Civic Media. Better, Corey, just to call you the chief. Thanks for making time for us.
A lot of chiefs.
A lot of chiefs, right? As they say.
Yes.
But no, you do a great job for us, and I appreciate you making time for us on very short notice. We don't do a lot of weather per se on this show because it's kind of in the middle of the day, but you came out, you're all over this, you and your staff here at Civic Media. The National Weather Service has put out some new outlooks here for this afternoon and tonight. This is potentially very serious stuff, and I appreciate you come on, explain to folks what has changed and what is the potential moving into tonight.
Yeah, and it's a conditional threat. I mean, we're going to have to really watch the radar, watch what forms into portions of central Minnesota, and see if it can congeal into a line and then move across a good chunk of Wisconsin. So really, we've been keeping our eyes on Minnesota for about the last 4 days. We really thought that there could be some strong tornadoes, some damaging wind into portions of Minnesota. But what we've got going on is there's a little area, there's a little boundary where there's a lot of heat to the south, right? It's like 88, 90, 92 degrees down into portions of Iowa and Missouri and points south. And then we're kind of in the 70s, upper 70s and mid 80s here in Wisconsin. So there's this little heat boundary. And what happens this time of year with all this humidity and just the fact that it's summertime, right? You're going to get a cluster of storms that start in central Minnesota, probably just west or right near the Twin Cities. And then what they're going to do is they start moving southeast. They're going to grab onto that little boundary. And that boundary runs basically from Eau Claire to Madison and over to Racine. So if those storms can latch on to that boundary and they can spread out into this big bowing line, that big backward C shape that you sometimes see on the radar, that means enhanced wind damage. And that's those straight line winds we talk about. And there could be an isolated tornado embedded in that line, but it's really 65 to 70 mile per hour straight line winds that we're most worried about today. And really, as I said, stretching from just outside of the Twin Cities area. So our friends in Baldwin, Amory, Eau Claire, and maybe even La Crosse, and then moving across the rest of central, southern, and southeastern Wisconsin late tonight.
Yeah, as I'm looking at this, it's kind of a slim egg shape or an oval, as you say. It goes from the Twin Cities all the way down to Waukesha and is north as far as maybe Stevens Point, Eau Claire, and northern end, Oshkosh. Wausau, and then down to Richland Center, Stevens Point, Monroe, Prairie du Chien, and up the river to La Crosse. I mean, it's and correct in saying, Corey, not everyone in that very wide area is going to see these storms. It just means there's a potential for all those folks to possibly incur this.
Right. And as I look at a few of the models here, a few of the computer models that generate basically statistics, the probability that something is going to happen, one of the ones I look at is the high resolution model here, the HRRR. And that really tells us kind of the timing of these storms. So it has the storm starting about 6 p.m. or so around the Twin Cities, then moving into western Wisconsin at 9 p.m., and then congealing into that Boeing line and moving across, as you said, possibly Wausau, Stevens Point, down to Richland Center. And that is at, let's see here, I got to do some math, 6Z. So that's 1 o'clock in the morning. So 1 o'clock in the morning, we're dealing with this. Then it gets to Madison probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and could still be going through Milwaukee, Racine tomorrow morning.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Corey Hartman, chief meteorologist here at Civic Media, but this is some of the most dangerous time to have these strong storms happen because it's dark and you can't really see what's going on. Also, people are in bed. And again, I don't want to hype this up too much or scare people.
Right,
but
because it's still a conditional threat.
Right.
It still has to all come together. Yeah,
exactly. But, I'm old enough to remember, for those in, south central Wisconsin, the Barneveld tornado. And of course, meteorology has come a long way since then, but that F5 tornado hit in the middle of the night when nobody knew what was going on. And so it's just good if you have a weather radio to have that on. I think Brittany Merlot this morning, I guess, hosted up North News Radio, so make sure you keep your phone on because Civic Media will be helping out to help folks as well.
It's all the ways to get that first warning, when it's coming into the west side of your county, and then tune in to radio or television and get more information. There's even some great streams. Sometimes I do a stream online. There's other online people that are doing a pretty good job, meteorologists, so they're on YouTube and Facebook and whatnot. But it's really about getting that first warning. And if you're sleeping, you're not going to get it probably from radio and television. Yeah, right. We'd love it if you left it on all night long, but you're probably not getting it that first warning at 2 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, NOAA weather radio, where you can tailor it down to just your county and it goes off and it's right from the National Weather Service. Phone apps that you can tailor again to your county, your location. Those are really the two best ways, and really you should have both because it's about getting multiple ways of accessing that information.
Yeah. I saw earlier in the chat you sent out internally here at Civic Media, somebody, mentioned that, the word derecho. And explain what this is, because I had a cousin that lived through one of these in Iowa not so long ago. And she said and she grew up in Wisconsin and saw tornado damage. And she said, Todd, I would rather have gone through, a quote unquote regular tornado than going through a derecho.
Yeah, I mean, a tornado affects a pretty small area, right? They can be anywhere from, 100 yards wide up to a mile wide, and then the path is, 5, 10, 20 miles long. So that really, even though a tornado hit X town, it's really only affecting the people where the heart of the tornado went through, right? So you could have houses on both sides of town that are still just fine. With a derecho, that is a widespread, long-lived windstorm. So as again, I'm looking at these computer models here tonight, and this could be a line of storms that stretches. Let's just pick a point: Wausau to Richland Center, right? So that's a pretty wide area, and then it's going to move from northwest to southeast. So it's going to scrape along a big area. So it's really the widespread definition, and there's other definitions into going, what exactly is a derecho, but basically it has to go over a great distance, and it has to have a lot of damaging wind reports of 60 miles per hour or greater.
Wow. And again, I still appreciate you coming on, and we're not here to scare people or hype it, but I think if we didn't tell people what the possibility was this evening, and then something happened and they say, well, why didn't you tell us? I think that's the important, just to be aware, and just to know there's a possibility that's out there and be prepared. Obviously, maybe keep pets inside, or make sure your lawn furniture is in a place where it's not going to blow away.
Trampolines and garbage cans and all of those things. Yeah, and that's really the double-edged sword when it comes to meteorology. And of course, people will say, well, you said this was going to happen and it didn't, or you said this wasn't going to happen and it did. Weather is still weather, and it's going to do what it wants. But we really have gotten better with our forecasts. Really when we say the next 3 days, we're pretty confident. Anything after that is somewhat of a guess or climatology. And if you've got anybody giving you a 21-day forecast, you should really, just forget about that.
Yeah, I love these new, first alert coming up. We were the first to warn you that there will be snow in November. Okay,
Yeah. Any skill after about 6 or 7 days is completely not there. But AccuWeather gives it a shot. So
anything that I did not ask you, Corey, that our listeners across the state of Wisconsin need to be aware of moving into tonight?
I think just a reminder that we'll be there. We'll break in as needed, and have the Civic Media app, because sometimes the it's weird that I'm involved in the engineering and the weather side, because weather affects our towers, our radio,
Right.
our over-the-air towers so much, between power outages and antennas blowing off and lightning hits and all of those sorts of things. So weather is a huge thing when it comes to the engineering part of the company here. So those over-the-air signals could go down. The stream signals are hardened in our concrete bunker, and will likely not go down. So get the Civic Media app, and again, just make sure you have multiple ways to get that first warning, and then tune in for more information.
Corey Hartman, Chief Meteorologist, Chief Engineer here at Civic Media. Thank you so much for your time and your information, your professionalism, and thank you for all you and your team do for us each and every day. We really appreciate you, Corey.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
That's Corey Hartman, Chief Meteorologist and Engineer. We appreciate him being on the air. And again, not trying to overhype it, just make sure that people are aware. And, I guess in the middle of the night, most people aren't going to be out and about, but if don't plan a bar crawl for tonight, after 9 o'clock or so.
Yeah,
right?
probably not the best move.
Yeah, just be home. So that is again, we don't normally do in-depth looks of weather here, but this is just one of those situations where I thought it was appropriate to pause, reflect, bring Corey on, because and one of the things I love about Corey Hartman is, much like Matt Flynn with law things, Corey Hartman just breaks it down for those of us who aren't scientists or meteorologists. You can understand it.
Yep, says it in normal human words.
That's right. That's exactly what you want from a meteorologist, and we appreciate him and Brittany Merlot and all of our fine weather folks, and also all of our people at individual stations, people like Phil Nee and Tim Feed at WRCO and Richland Center, WRCE as well. You've got Chad.
Holmes.
Thank you. The Novocaine. It's the Novocaine, ladies and gentlemen. Chad Holmes up in Wausau, keeping track of the local weather up there. So a lot of our hometown stations, in addition to Corey, at the network level, also have people who are burning the midnight oil to stay there at these stations to keep your local station and local community informed as well. But that's what Civic Media is all about. We're going to come back, take a look at a little national news in terms of the presidential debate coming up on Thursday. We will carry that here at Civic Media. And John Anderson, Wisconsinite at ESPN, has a new gig. We'll tell you about it. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Monday, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right. This is not an 8th Congressional District update.
I know. It's just, I have the horse sound right there. Always
just
ready to
waiting,
go.
Waiting for Andre Jacques' story.
Or this one. I did have like 5 more, but I was like, this is
out of control.
Excessive. Yeah.
All right. The tingling is starting to... By the time the show ends, I should be absolutely fine.
You're sounding a lot more like your normal self, so.
All right, good. Thank you. That's good. everyone doing it? Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to be with you on a Monday, June 24th. Looking out at the street here, high atop State Street, to block off the Capitol Square. If we have a chance to take, Mr. Perry, our ongoing contributor and friend Jeff Perry, says, I hope your dentist is better than mine. Before every procedure, he always asks me to disrobe. Jeff, call me after the show because I'd like to get your number of your dentist. Well, you got to be careful where they stick the Novocaine. I will say that. That's
boy,
right.
that sounds bad.
No, my dentist is fantastic. Again, if you're in the Madison area, all joking aside, I've gone to him for 15 years. Dr. Rob Bradley, really, really great guy.
I'll have to see if my insurance covers him because I need a checkup.
Well, if you have, you don't have the same insurance as I do, but
yeah, I will though.
Okay, well, ours does here at Civic Media. It's fantastic. And one of the great things about First Choice or Dr. Bradley is when I first went to him, I didn't have insurance and I had a gum issue. And he said, look, don't worry about it. The first thing is take care of your teeth and your mouth. We'll figure out a payment plan or whatever. I mean, how many people do that these days?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So First Choice Dental and Dr. Bradley. All right, there you are on beautiful State Street. Look at that. People are out there enjoying it. No fear of derechos at all here in Madison right now. It's mostly sunny skies, as you can see on the old live stream on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter there. Beautiful day in down. Look at a bicyclist there. I brought that up because, I've picked on the bicyclists a few times, saying that they run red lights and whatnot, don't follow traffic signals. Well, here I was just watching out the window during the break there, and some yahoo in a car just completely blows a red light and nearly hits a pedestrian. I mean,
some people's children.
I just look. We all make mistakes, but that's the interesting thing being here on the street now, when you can see the traffic lights and you see who's obeying the law and who isn't. Just obey the law. It's that simple. It doesn't matter whether you're a motorist, a bicyclist, or a cyclist, or a pedestrian.
Just because you have the right of way doesn't mean that a 2-ton piece of metal isn't going to kill you if it rams into you.
Exactly right. Let's get to a couple of things here. A couple of these cuts will happen over the weekend. Donald Trump. Let's take the cut number 2 here, Mr. Zomers, on truckers. Donald Trump was on the old campaign trail this weekend, and of all the wacky things he's talked about, he made a claim about truckers in America and how far they could go. Let's listen to it. We'll describe it. Here's Trump on the campaign trail this weekend.
Those trucks get bigger. He said, sir, I build apartments. We call them apartments, or those trucks. You would be proud to live in one of those. I said, I don't know about that. They build the cabs with a place to stay. I said, I could handle it. I mean, I could. But he said, every year they get better. If they force this electric mandate on us, we'll go back 70 years, not 50 years. He said, we'll have to stop 6 times from New York to Los Angeles. I said, how many times do you have to stop now? None. We go directly New York to Los Angeles, all the way, no stops. I said, didn't you explain that to them? Yes, we do all the time. It doesn't make any difference to them. The other thing, I didn't know this.
All right. He claims you could drive from Los Angeles to New York City in an 18-wheeler and never make a stop. Number one, there are no force, and this is a theme that MAGA Republicans and Trump are using on the lead up to the RNC in Milwaukee in a couple of weeks, that, the Biden administration is forcing auto manufacturers to only build electric, which is not true. If there is a goal set for like 10 years into the future, but combustible engines will still be being made. There is no penalty. There will still be gas-powered cars and trucks into the future. It is a goal to have electric. So no one's forcing anybody to go electric, number one. Number two, one of the best trips of my entire life was with one of my good friends, Brooke Dobbs from Richland Center, who is one of America's heroes. He is a truck driver. He has worked in all facets. He's been an owner-operator. He's been over the road. He's been regional. Years ago, I took a long-haul ride with Brooke from Chicagoland down to San Antonio, Texas, back up to Oklahoma, Kansas City, and back to Chicago. One of the most eye-opening things ever. On my old truck, I haven't been able to find one. I used to have a bumper sticker that said, "Without trucks, America stops." Because it's true. You'll not find anybody that has more respect for the trucking industry than me, based on my experience. Here's the thing. Anybody who actually knows about truck driving in America knows it is impossible to go from New York to Los Angeles or vice versa without stopping. One, you have to refuel. And number two, there are stringent codes, laws about how many hours you can operate without a stop.
Yes, and I looked these up while you were talking. And so the drive time straight from LA to New York is about 41 hours.
Right. So somebody's going to stay up for 41 hours.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Shut up, Donald. And as far as the legal limits, you cannot drive over 11 hours without taking 10 hours off immediately after. You can kind of get up to 14 if you're taking breaks in your driving.
Well,
but that's the absolute maximum.
And the thing is, people don't understand when you see the waysides or when you have to pull over truckers, they have to it's called getting DOT'd in the industry, where they look at your log books. And a lot of these truckers now, it's all electronic. So even if you wanted to fudge your books, I mean, back in the day, some truckers would have kind of two sets of books, basically, so they could drive longer. A lot of times now, with all the computer technology, GPS, that's all, you can't hide it. And I think it is probably, for the most part, for the better. You want to protect the driver, you want to protect the public. So these claims by Donald Trump about the trucking industry that you could drive from Los Angeles to New York City are patently 100% false. And that's what we're about to go into here on Thursday night, the debate between Biden and Trump.
I only wish we could do like live fact checking, but the thing is, we'd have to stop it every 2 seconds while he's talking. Right. Like, well, actually, that's false.
Maybe let's do what? Have we got time for the Ben Carson cut here or not really? We should come back and do it. All right. Here is Dr. quote unquote, Ben Carson. I shouldn't say quote unquote, but Ben Carson over the weekend on Donald Trump, why he does not have the 10 Commandments up in his Trump properties.
Have you, for example, ever seen the 10 Commandments up at any Trump properties?
I haven't specifically seen them. I don't know if they're there or not.
Shouldn't they be?
I wouldn't object to them being there. I don't object to them not being there.
But I'm saying if they're such universal, tenets, why are they not up where, former President Trump controls what happens? I mean, he owns those properties, he operates them. He could put them up. Shouldn't they be up?
Well, this is not about President Trump. This is about what is happening to the moral fiber of our nation.
It certainly is, Ben Carson. And the moral fiber of our nation in Trump standards is decayed. We'll talk about it on the other side, because MAGA Republicans want the 10 Commandments in every public school, but they're not up at Mar-a-Lago. Come on back. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Monday. Novocaine induced. Lidocaine on the Civic Media Radio Network.
There's some funny stuff with lidocaine from working as a pharmacy tech. So,
what can you do with it besides put it in your gums?
Oh, it's used for pain all over the body.
Really?
Like you get these big lidocaine patches. Like if you want salon pus or whatever, that's lidocaine.
Well, this
or
is
at least
a whole new genre. This is a whole new.
There's sunscreen that has lidocaine in it for like severe burns, or not sunscreen. Sorry, there's like aloe, like
with lidocaine.
Yeah.
So lidocaine is like a number.
Yep. It's in a lot of stuff. It's just in low dosages in consumer stuff. But so over the counter, if you want lidocaine patches for pain relief, you can get 4% strength.
Okay.
I don't know what medical use strength is, but I know doctors will often prescribe 5% patches. However, because 4% is available over the counter, no insurance pays for it, essentially. Yeah. They're just like, I'm not going to pay for this 5%. This is like $200, and you can just go and spend 15 and buy the same thing for 1% less strength. Do that. I'm not paying for it.
Couldn't you use 2 4% and get 8?
It doesn't work exactly like that.
Okay.
Like it's about how long it's effective for, how strong it is, and stuff like that. That's more just bigger area.
This is the bonus material for watching on the stream. This is what you get by watching this every day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
You learn that
you learn you could get a Novocaine patch at 4%.
Lidocaine.
Oh, no.
Lidocaine.
Lidocaine. A lidocaine patch. You have to be very careful where you use the patch.
I imagine you would. There's probably places you're not supposed to use it.
If you wanted to be mean to your lover while they slept, never feel a thing. But you could.
You could. You could eat it. Don't eat it.
Don't eat it, my gosh. So lidocaine is available over the counter at 4% patches.
Yeah.
But the stuff they stick on my jaw, that's like straight stuff, right?
I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be, what it's all mixed with.
They did say it was a mix. It was lidocaine and something else. THC.
I don't think it's that.
No, it wasn't.
That's also available over the counter, depending on which state you live in.
That's right. First Choice Dental. They give you a gas, lidocaine, and a weed to knock you out. No, they don't. That's all made up. It's all made up. But they are great. First Choice. This commercial break has been sponsored by First Choice Dental in Dane County, several occasions to serve you. Dr. Rob Bradley voted several times as Madison's best cosmetic dentist. That's true.
First Choice Dental.
Yes.
Let them be your first choice.
That's very good. If you have dental work, give them a call. First Choice Dental, Rob Bradley. Plays a mean game of golf as well. He pays for his golf clubs at my dental work.
I mean, yeah.
And you know what? I'm fine with that because I've said this for years, whether it's a medical doctor, a dentist, anybody in the medical profession, when they see me, I want them relaxed, alert, and happy.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't care. I am not one of these people that begrudges doctors and dentists and optometrists, a nice boat or a nice house. I don't care what. I mean, they earn it because they're working on my body. And one slip up and lights out.
Yeah, what they do is incredibly important. I think that they should get paid well. I think that we should not pay for it. At least not at the rates that we do.
Somebody has to pay for it. No, you're right. I mean, yes. I mean, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. You understand that?
It is.
The insurance part. I'm just saying that
insurance is a legal racket.
I watched college kids, not kids, adults, go through medical school at UW-Madison because my first coffee shop was very close to the UW Medical School. So they used to come there and study. And we had it open long enough, I was able to see one class be freshman and then graduate. And the amount of work that these people do and the stress and everything else, they earn every single penny, in my opinion.
I would agree from what I've seen.
Yes.
All right, 20 seconds.
All right, here we go. Oh, we're done. See, the break just goes by like that. Wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Mr. Zommer's on the board. 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Monday, June 24th. I believe, Mr. Zommer's, after my dental work, the crown that was put on by the fantastic dentist that is Dr. Robert Bradley at First Choice Dental, the lidocaine is finally wearing off. The tongue is starting to unnumb. The jaw is working a little better.
It sounds like it.
Is it? All right, very good. Although my brain is still slightly affected.
That'll happen.
That'll happen. Talking before the break here, playing a couple of cuts. One, Donald Trump over the weekend making the claim in all seriousness. There was no joking. So people, well, he was just joking, Todd. He didn't really mean that. We played you the clip. Did it sound like he was joking, Mr. Sommers?
It did not. It sounded like he was going through, an explanation of something someone told him.
Exactly. And that he believed, and now he is telling it, or whoever will listen, this lie that Trump claims that long-haul truckers, 18-wheel truckers, can drive from Los Angeles to New York City without stopping. That's his claim. And blames it and says, the Biden administration is forcing these electric vehicles and it's going to ruin the trucking industry. Well, number one, no one is forcing electric vehicles either commercially or privately. And I watched on CBS Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, and they had a focus group via Zoom or whatever from several different battleground states, of which was like there were 2 people from Wisconsin on this focus group of both persuasions politically. And Margaret Brennan, one woman, now I don't believe she was from Wisconsin, but this one woman was absolutely certain that Joe Biden had made a mandate that all gas-powered cars were going to be gone in 10 years. I mean, she would have given her firstborn away until Margaret Brennan walked her through the truth and the laws, and even then, the woman seemed skeptical. And again, this is what we're dealing with here, right? If folks are only getting their news from Fox, which again, under court, oath, admitted that they view themselves as an entertainment network, not a news or journalism network. Fox News own Newsmax. They're perpetuating these lies. And so if people only watch that, they believe it. And again, I'm no trucker, but I have a close friend who have been on an over-the-road truck driving experience from Chicago to San Antonio and back. There is physically, there is no truck 18-wheeler in existence that can have the fuel to go from LA to New York without stopping. I shouldn't say there's no trucker. There may be a truck driver out there who could stay up 41 hours straight if it was possible from the fuel point. But again, when you get DOT, you have to show your books. There are laws. It's just not possible. So that's a lie. And then last week, you had Republicans trying to say they now want the 10 Commandments mandated to be put up in every public school. And this is not an attack, what I'm about to say, on religion or Christianity. As not the world's perfect Christian, but as a Christian, as a believer, I think the 10 Commandments are a great guidepost. But that's my personal belief. I would never expect to put that in a public school. We are not a theocracy in the United States. We are a representative democracy, a republic. You can't force the 10 Commandments to be put up in schools any more than you can readings out of the Torah or the Quran. We are not a theocracy. And you had Ben Carson, someone who was rumored to possibly be on the vice presidential shortlist for Trump, could not defend why Trump doesn't have the 10 Commandments up at his properties, his hotels, his resorts, his golf clubs. And then Ben Carson, who may be more of a potted plant than North Dakota's Governor Doug Burgum, also being rumored to be a finalist for the VP spot. Ben Carson says, this isn't about Trump. It's about the moral fiber of the country. Well, that I might agree with you on. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to Tom in Grafton. Tom, thanks so much for calling. What say you?
Hi. I agree with you really on most things, but in this one, there's more detail to it than what you either know or are saying. And what I mean by that with the gasoline-powered vehicles is there's 2 things. The first is the amount of emissions that gas-powered vehicles are allowed to put out. And right now they're very low. What Biden administration has done is they've lowered them really far for 2035, which is going to eliminate most gas-powered vehicles because they can never meet that, thereby promoting electric. The other is they're increasing the corporate fuel economy from around 25 miles per gallon to like 50. And there again, most gas-powered vehicles, unless you're talking like a Geo Metro, can never make that. That's how they're doing it.
And I'll check into it further, Tom, because I appreciate the call. I am not perfect. I always will stand corrected. But my understanding is, again, watching Face the Nation yesterday, my understanding was those things that you cited on emissions and gas mileage are goals that the federal government has set, but they are not locked in stone, saying that if you don't meet them, you can't.
Mandates.
Well, I'll
Those
double
are
check it. I'll double check it.
Not to outlaw gas vehicles, but I agree with that. But the other two are mandates.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call. I really appreciate the call, and we'll check into it, and we'll bring you back our results tomorrow. So that's a great point. Why we have great callers, great listeners, and we'll check it out. We'll check it out and bring you the truth tomorrow. So, but I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you so much. Again, my understanding is those things are aspirational. They're goals. They're saying that that's where they want the industry to be. My understanding is that they are not drop dead, locked in stone. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and we'll find out and have it for you tomorrow. I want to go. So in conjunction with this, we've been making this point as we get ready for the Biden-Trump debate coming up on Thursday. I'm not even going to play the cut, but I'll give you the cliff notes. Over the weekend on the stump, Trump claims that if Biden wins the debate on Thursday, it's because he's hopped up on coke, as in cocaine, not the beverage. I'm not making this up. Accuse Biden of being hopped up on cocaine if he wins. And if Trump loses, Trump says that will be because it's a 3-on-1, because he can't get a fair debate with Dana Bash and Jake Tapper from CNN being the moderator. So this is what he's setting up. Here's a great excerpt from great writer, great person, Heather Cox Richardson from last week. She says this, quote, with new polls showing Biden overtaking the lead in the presidential contest, right-wing media has been pushing so-called cheap fakes, videos that don't use AI but misrepresent what happened by deceptively cutting the film or the shot. Social media has been flooded with images of Biden appearing to bend over for no apparent reason at a D-Day ceremony. The clip cuts off both the chair behind him and everyone else was sitting down too. Another from the recent G7 summit appears to show the president wandering away from a group of leaders during a skydiving demonstration. In fact, he was walking toward and speaking to a parachute jumper who had just landed but was off camera. And a third appears to show Biden unable to say the name of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. In fact, he was teasing Mayorkas, and the film cuts off just before Biden says his name. We played you those cuts last week. So on Monday, June 17th, Judd Legum of Popular Information produced a deep report on how the right-wing Sinclair Broadcast Group has been flooding its local media websites with these and other stories suggesting that President Biden is, quote, mentally unfit for office, unquote. Legum noted that these stories appeared simultaneously, get this, on at least 86 local news websites that Sinclair owns. You say, well, we don't have any of those in our community. Check out in Madison area, the Madison demo, Fox 47 News. It is produced locally by the Channel 3 news team, who are fine folks and by and large do a great job on Channel 3, the CBS affiliate. But the local Fox affiliate, which is owned by Sinclair, hires the News 3 team to present the news. But on the website for Fox News, locally in Madison, that is owned and controlled by Sinclair. And that's what this story is getting at. So you see how this works? They use quote-unquote local weather. Well, I'm going to check the weather, the Fox 47 weather forecast, Channel 47 in Madison. And up pops this story that somehow Biden is not mentally fit. We've talked about it on this program before. Tracy Olson has talked about it as well. That when you have a candidate who has a flaw, and that Trump, it is well known within the Trump universe that Trump is having mental acuity problems. So what you do is you accuse your opponent, in this case Biden, of having the same problem or Achilles heel that your own candidate does. So this is all ginnied up for optics, for narratives that we're going to see played out this coming week on Thursday. Again, Terry Bell and I will anchor our coverage beginning at 7:30. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Kurt in Madison. Kurt, thanks for listening. What's say?
Todd, doesn't the president have their own video crew capturing all these events that he's going to, so they have a way of, counterbalancing all the editing and the misleading, and start putting these networks on their toes? I mean, all this stuff is borderline slander. Mm-hmm. And if they don't have their own media crew, then shame on the president.
Yeah, I don't know people directly in Biden world or the the Democratic Party nationally. I would think that they do, but I also think, I'm not speaking for them, just surmising, having worked on not presidential campaigns but others, if it's coming from the Biden campaign all the time, that's less convincing than if it comes from somebody outside, like, I'm not saying me necessarily, but third parties who are pointing this out, like this Popular Information or Heather Cox Richardson, and to have it's more organic that way. But I don't disagree with you. Bill Clinton.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I mean, they should always be recording everything he does, every movement he makes, so that when the media pulls one of these stunts, and then the press and the media are asking questions of the press secretary of the president, she should just turn around and say, let's play some footage here. Let's do some A/Bing here. Right. And start making them look as stupid as they are.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, again, Bill Clinton kind of created the modern day war room rapid response. George Stephanopoulos was a key guy at that. And I think the Biden folks should look back and do a better job of rapid response a la Bill Clinton days. I agree with you on that. Great call, Kurt. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. We're going to pause just for a quick, only 60 seconds, so don't go anywhere. As our friend Matt Flynn likes to say, we see you on the lines. We've got Ron, Gene, and Gary all in the hopper. We will get to you all on the other side. More on this issue of making Joe Biden look unfit from videos, when in fact it is the Trumpster who are saying things like, 18-wheelers could go across the country without refueling. Or that, pick from a cadre of other things that Trump has said just in the last 48 hours. Again, you can hear the presidential debate right here on Civic Media this Thursday. Terry Bell and myself co-anchoring. Starts at 7:30. Come back, take more of your phone calls, and wrap things up, including that John Anderson story, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Dang, I heard a teaser from John and Gordy saying they were making new theme songs for the show. Oh, really? And I took that to AI generate a song about you doing a radio show on Novocaine. And I was going to play it, but we have all these callers.
I'm sorry. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll save it for tomorrow.
All right. One of my favorite weekend was Trump saying that he walks into wall and is confused on stage and made Biden walk out. Jeez. Thank you. We'll try to get to that. In fact, we'll use that quickly. We'll use that quickly to start. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. It is 10 before the hour of 2 o'clock. That's 10 minutes away from top of the hour news, weather, and sports update. Again, keep an eye to the sky as we could have some very severe, severe is severe, but some dangerous storms move through much of Wisconsin from kind of Eau Claire down through Wausau, Richland Center, Madison into Waukesha sometime after sunset. So be aware of that. We'll have updates for you throughout the day. Maggie Dawn is coming up then after that from 2 until 4 every afternoon. Maggie Dawn, don't miss it, directly after our program. Well, I'll get back to the phone lines quickly talking about this story from Heather Cox Richardson, where she's saying that making Biden look unfit is the name of the game for the Trump campaign because Trump really is looking unfit. Heather off of Facebook says, quote, one of my favorites this weekend was Trump saying that when he walks into walls or seems confused on stage, that he's imitating Biden and mocking him. Oh, boy. Well said. Well said. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Ron, listening on WAUK in Milwaukee. Ron, thanks for listening. What say you?
Yeah. You know, I have a really mixed mind on this, but basically, because it's going to be a close election just because of the peculiarities of American national politics, namely the Electoral College, which
agreed,
means and lose by 8 million popular votes and only lose by 70,000 votes in battleground states. So we have to play this for every to the very last vote. But I think he's in trouble, and I think the party knows it. And they've always done this since about the Nixon era. Swift voting.
Right. John Kerry.
John Kerry has a term that has now been forgotten already, but it's been used several times before. My point is, I think it's a sign that they're in not panic mode, but they're scared. They're worried.
Right.
And they know the candidate is badly flawed. And he's going to keep doing this stuff. So they're going to keep amping up the, reflective parasol that shows it's actually Biden that's doing this stuff.
Right.
It's not our guy. Objection. And, his base is going to buy it because, as we learned in the previous thing about, new auto fuel standards, people read it from these weird sources and believe what the Republicans are twisting it to mean.
Right.
But that's his base, and his base is shrinking a little bit. So I don't think we should be overly worried about it.
Thanks, Ron. Really appreciate the call. Great call, Ron. Appreciate it. We're just a little short for time. I agree with most of what Ron said there. And I think that Trump world does realize that they've got a problem on their hands. 855-752-4842. Gene in Eau Claire. Gene listening on the tap up in the Chippewa Valley. Thanks for calling, Gene. What say you?
Great show as usual, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to know who in their right mind would be spending money to get this guy in the presidency. Who in the world benefits by this? Who are the people that are controlling the idiot because he can't do it on himself? Because he would not be there if the Fox News and the other news stations and the people that were involved in the insurrection too, probably hoping that they'll, get some, relief when they're finally held accountable. If these people weren't out there lying, everybody knows he's lying. And it's really sad to see these people, who I used to trust years ago, playing games with the people and our country. And all businesses are going to be hurting if he gets in. He turns on people in a second. Nobody's safe from this guy. He's really bad news, and I hope people really pay attention because this is really bad news for our country. Thank you very much. You have a good night now. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. Really appreciate it. Gene in Eau Claire. Yeah, and again, for me as a former Republican who left the party in 2011, what's really insidious are these people like Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, go right down the list, who know better, who have been on the record saying what they really think of Trump and are now politically genuflecting simply to hang on to power. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Gary in Sussex. Gary, always appreciate the call. What say you?
Well, I don't even want to bring this subject up. I'll just end it on a happier note.
Fantastic. We appreciate
You were talking this morning about the heat and how antsy people get and they start killing people. You know what? I'm a heating contractor. I go to people's houses that are hot and I make them happy. I save marriages.
I believe
people
that.
Go out there and they say, get away from me. Get away from me. And I said, I told this guy, I said, look, I can fix this for you. Let me put the air conditioning in. I called him a week later. I said, how's the marriage? He says, perfect. Thank you so much. So
Now stay on the line a second. So we got a couple of minutes, Gary, because this is a fantastic call. If you weren't with us on Up North News Radio, I was filling in for Pat Kreitlow. There's a great story over the weekend in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel saying that when it gets, when the extreme heat puts mental stress on people and the calls for mental health conditions go up. So you're saying, Gary, as a heating contractor, a HVAC contractor, you've seen this firsthand. You don't need a scientist to tell you, you've seen it.
Yes, but when I see it, the people are really ornery and sad. But when I leave, they're happy. And like I said, I save marriages. There are more children born after a hot day because of my air conditioner I put in at their house.
Look at that. Gary helping to increase the population. You're not just saving marriages, Gary. You're saving Social Security into perpetuity. Just give them some AC, give them a bottle of wine, some, Barry White, and let them go to town.
There you go.
I love it. Great way to end the show. I appreciate it, Gary. Thanks for calling in, and you have a great day out there. Thanks for all. Keep cool yourself. Because, again, I think we don't say this enough. I don't say this enough. All of the people in the service industry, right? The plumbers, the HVAC people, the builders out there, the electricians, all the people that when our stuff doesn't work, we usually call them on the coldest or hottest or rainiest days of the year and say, fix it. And it takes guys and gals like Gary and all the people in this state in the service industries and in the trades industries to make our lives better. Gary is absolutely right. So a big shout out to all the trades people today. We appreciate you. Hang in there and keep fighting. Also, a big shout out to Corey Hartman for being with us, Mr. Zomers for doing yeoman's work, Dr. Kristen Lyerly for being with us as well. Stay tuned now for Maggie Dawn. We'll be back with you lidocaine free tomorrow. Maybe not as good a show. Until then, Todd Allbaugh saying, whatever you believe in, whatever you're fighting for, do not give up. Keep banging on your drum. All right, everybody, thank you. We appreciate you. Thanks for putting up with my Novocaine, lidocaine, numb head. Maybe it was a better show on lidocaine.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow with, I forgot to promo, Luke, Leave It to Beaver Mathers is on the show tomorrow. See you then.
Adios.
Bye-bye.